Thank you very much, dear colleagues. I'm really happy to see you here, some new faces, some familiar faces. I'm pretty sure that this chunk of work that we managed to do when we implemented our legal component, it really proved efficient, and we had a lot of resonance with the words that people said in the previous panel, but I'm trying to be brief and to the point. Our moderator directed our discussion towards the challenges that we faced when we started implementing the legal component. It was not the initial component. We started with the humanitarian one. And when we were in the first year of implementations, our colleagues who collected humanitarian needs also started receiving requests from the communities, from the authorities, that people also have legal needs and problems. At the same time, there is no mechanism where you could just transfer the information about such kind of needs, because lots of providers of legal aid and international organizations, they go to the communities, but as it was mentioned before, not always there is a there is a security and logistical opportunity to reach some of the communities, and some problems go unnoticed and unsolved. If we talk about challenges, the main challenge is not about those issues that remain unnoticed. At the same time, there are needs that we're not even conscious of them. What does it mean? When you come to the person and to say, do you have any legal need? And the person says, no, I don't have any legal needs. But then you start talking to them. And in the process of this discussion, you understand, well, the person does have a legal problem, but perhaps they just do not know, they don't have enough legal background. They cannot identify that this is something that can be qualified as a legal problem that demands reaction right away, because we understand that the problem that is not solved sooner might really get more complicated than it was, and it can get stuck. So we really put a lot of effort into discovering those problems that people are not even conscious of that they have. Very briefly about our work, we identify, verify the legal related requests from the communities. We go to even most remote communities where there are no logistical opportunities at all, but we're trying to cover communities as much as possible. We covered all of the Shevchenkivsky community, and we're not planning to stop anytime soon. Also, if you speak about the focus of our attention, of our work, is mostly discovery of the legal cases that remained unnoticed and that demand certain action to be solved. We understand that there are a lot of legal issues. Even if we had 5 or 10 lawyers, we wouldn't be able to solve all of them. We didn't want to go that way. We don't want to duplicate any other service organizations that provide legal assistance. We decided that we will focus rather on discovery of those issues and covering them. So we interview the person, we find out about the situation in very much detail, whether they might have already contacted somebody to solve that and how it happened, whether there was some result. So we collect and register all this information. And then we proceed with searching potential potential partners who could probably take up this case and potentially solve this issue. Also, we collect feedback, quite a lot of feedback from our partnership organization and from our beneficiaries, because it's very important for us to hear that this mechanism that we tried and we worked upon, we just want to understand whether we really helped the person, whether they had the issue solved. if we didn't solve the issues, we also register the information why it happened. We talk to the partner organization because sometimes, there are cases where the person says, I couldn't solve this issue, but actually the situation is that the issue is like communication. The person just saying that, that was a bad quality assistant. Just to minimize and to cross out those risks, we interview beneficiaries and also our partnership organizations to make sure that we avoid that. Also, we are focusing our work on growing our partnership interactions. We keep informing that everybody that we will be happy to see new partners in our circles, whoever is ready to work with us, even if there are certain targets and limitations in terms of the topics of consultations. The partnership organizations. Our previous event, which was dedicated to the legal component, we came to an idea together with the colleagues. We shouldn't just refer to one organization. We can refer people to two organizations. One of them can write with the case, and the other can cover the court costs. And in this synergy, we can be efficient and solve the legal issue for our beneficiary. Also, we register all of the information about the accessibility level to the state and administrative and other services. When we just started implementing this component, it wasn't our top priority. But when we went on our first field visit, when we just started collecting needs, meeting the communities, what we started seeing after we register the information, we started hearing very basic issues like, where is the notary? Where do I go? Where is this technical inventarization bureau? We understand that people have no idea where to go, even within their community, where those offices are. So I won't go into much detail about that because my colleague will cover those issues, but we found out that it's a very important element that people need. This information is really needed. Thank you so much. I have some more to add. Here's some statistics for your attention. I don't always love statistic data because they don't always show the scope of work that is done by people. You can say that starting from March 2024 or May 2024, 140 legal requests is not so much, but the attention and planning goes into each visit cannot be shown in this number because we talk to our informants, to all the stakeholders to verify the need. If the need is there, we clarify the details. We also inform through local chats that we are coming because it's really important for us so that we, just try to target people through all sorts of channels communication so that they would know that they can come if they have a need. Also, there is a list of organizations here, and it's not final. It will grow, I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to read it, but I wanted to thank all of our colleagues and partners that have been with us for a while, and they take up our referrals, and it's very valuable, it's precious, and it resonates with us, and it's really precious that our work resonates with your hearts. Now about more legal informing, legal awareness raising. And we talked to people about services available, but we're also working on people-centered info materials. Why we are focused on people-centeredness? Because we understand that many organizations, they create info materials, but sometimes, people do not always understand that this issue is a legal issue. So we understand that the material that we form for their usage has to be written in very simple language it should include a very basic, very clear algorithm, step by step, what should they do to solve their issue. We put a lot of time and effort into that. Before developing any materials, when we discuss potential topic, we analyze our request database, what topics are the hottest. We talk to our informants. So we spend a lot of time to choose the correct topics so that our materials are usable, not just looking good on a coffee table somewhere. And on the final stages of creation of our info materials, we also test drive them on colleagues who have no legal educations or on friends. We just give them to those people and says like, is it clear? Is the message clear? It's always a positive mark if they say yeah. Now, it's if we see that the comprehension check is passed, then it's really a good factor for us. And we also have an educational component, legal education component, very interesting component. We had a lot of traditional events like that when we went the traditional way, looking at the existing problems or maybe systemic issues like about how to receive a status for a child, a victim of the war. So we decided, well, we don't want to have a consultation for 20 people. We want to create a quality material presented. And if people have any questions remaining, then they can talk to us, something like that. But I wanted to focus on, and the format of the event is our series of events that we implemented together with our partners, Bravo Games, which is a very unique tool. What's unique about it is that it's interactive. People role play, whether you are an IDP or a retired person, and then through role playing, you find answers to questions, which raises your legal education level, legal awareness, and looking at the feedback. And we had participants from 18 to 65. And when you see a lot of positive feedback from people who are 60 plus, it's really impressive because you understand that this tool that perhaps would be more relevant for young people, it also works for the older people. Another thing I wanted to point out is our online services of access to the legal. We have online chat where we have our lawyers on duty. It's 22 organizations which are all over the country, and they provide legal consultations. And you can see here, you can see our statistics of our results since we started the legal component. But I would like to focus more not on the statistics, but on the tool that we managed to develop. It's our chatbot. It's a pretty unique tool because I understand when you hear about chatbots, you feel that everybody has a chatbots now. It's not something that actually you need to understand about how it works. It's a multi-channel tool with an integrated AI, but it's not a situation where you write a question and it Googles your answer and doesn't verify it, and you have to use it without verifying, but you cannot be sure about the relevance of this information. It's not the case here. Our lawyers chose the most relevant topics and are now filling up the answer section. And one topic is more than 30 consultations. When it comes to documents, it's more than 150 pages of the real verified information about all sorts of things, peculiarities about how it's supposed to work and how it works. So we are testing it when it comes to forming very simple questions and also not so simple questions. Usually, we are planning to increase our database with more topics and want to integrate our online chat into this tool.
And if the user cannot find the answer to their question in the system, they can always talk to a lawyer. And I'm guessing my time is up. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dasha. And moving on, we'll talk about partnership as one of the essential prerequisites in this domain. So, what is referrals and how do they work? Yes, thank you and greetings, everyone. Happy to see all of you here today because this only goes to show that uh, there's demand and that there's interest in this kind of information. So, indeed, I would like to talk to you a bit about referrals and about free of charge legal services and how they are connected. So, first and foremost, we differentiate between different kinds of referrals. You could be looking for an organization that would be able to address the needs of the beneficiary, and the beneficiary would be with which the beneficiary would be willing to cooperate because we take consent from the two sides, from both of them. And so it's not just redirecting, but it's also about giving additional assistance. Whereas redirecting would be just rerouting this request to a governmental body. For example, if it's a public notary, then they can go there straight away. The beneficiary does not need anyone to accompany them at any stage unless there are any um, special considerations, in which case we can always find an NGO to help the beneficiary. For example, if the beneficiary was, if their request was rejected or further redirected. So we work in Mykolaiv Oblast and Kherson Oblast. We have a lawyer down in Chernobyevka who helps us identify and verify the needs. And I myself work in Mykolaiv and Mykolaiv Oblast, and I've been doing this for 3 years. And in this time, I have come to know many different service providers with whom we meet and discuss potential collaboration through, say, putting together a list of issues that they can be helpful with, the needs that they can address, or the services that they just generally provide. For example, helping with the court fees or with drawing up some technical documentation. Also, we put a mark in the system as to whether or not they are able to travel on site to meet with the beneficiary at their community. For example, this beneficiary could be from Velika Alexandrivka. And that would mean that ideally we should refer them to someone who would be able to travel to see the beneficiary um, in their community because the beneficiary, for example, might not have the means to travel. So this is how we agree on potential cooperation, and then moving forward, we refer the beneficiaries to them and we help them with the communication and other aspects. Yes, thank you, Yaroslava. I was just wondering, this was my next question about the feedback, whether you collect it just from the residents, from the beneficiaries, or from the partners as well. Well, thank you for the question. We do take feedback from both sides because it is absolutely essential for us to better understand whether it was comfortable enough for the beneficiary to work with this organization and whether their needs have been met because we've had different cases. For example, at some point, the beneficiary could just say that I would like to terminate my relationship with this lawyer, just as an example. So we try and collect feedback from both sides, and when we do so, and it is important, we do not aim to evaluate the work of the lawyer, but rather focus on addressing the needs of the beneficiary, helping them solve their problem. On the slide, you can see that we interviewed 57 out of 140 beneficiaries, so we have their feedback. And the whole point of collecting feedback is to learn more about the issue, whether it was solved successfully, and whether there have been any challenges on the way, both at the beneficiaries end and also at the end of the organization. So percentage-wise, we could break down our issues into several categories, including the financial aspect and also the request being redirected or rerouted from one organization to another and then to another. Also, it could be challenges associated with the logistics. Sometimes transportation is lacking, or travel costs could be quite high. Or, for example, the community might just not be aware that they have this need in legal services, which I would also consider one of the challenges. Now, onto my next slide here, I would like to talk to you a bit about the accessibility of services. When we collect information, it is not just about the free legal aid that is available, but also about different kinds of um, services available from the government agencies and other public bodies. Because when we refer our beneficiary to a certain organization, we are expected to provide them with things like contact details and working hours, etc. So that this process is as smooth as possible. For Mykolaiv Oblast, for example, I've worked with Shevchenkivska and Halitsenivska communities so far, and also for these two communities, I can say that their needs in legal services are mostly covered, but in some remote areas, there are needs that are still unmet and even unidentified. So, based on the analytics that we have uh, conducted, it is mostly 100% coverage, but there are some needs that are still unmet simply because they haven't been identified yet. Also, we analyze the frequency um, of such visits, on-site visits from organizations to the respective communities. Sometimes it could happen um, as often as once a year, for example. And in Mykolaiv Oblast, almost 68%, it's once a month. I mean, the frequency of on-site visits. So this is also what I'm saying is that this is also one of the indicators that we can track the frequency of on-site visits. For Kherson Oblast, it's a bit different. Unfortunately, for Oleksandrivska and Belozerska communities or Hromadas, some of the organizations at this point refrain from visiting these communities. So it's 90% coverage and 5.3% needs are still unmet for Belozerska and the Chernobyevska Hromadas. For these two communities, as you can see, the situation is a bit different percentage-wise. Yaroslava, how much time do you think you need to finish up? About 3 minutes. So regarding the frequency of on-site visits to these communities, once a month, as we can see, it is 75% locations, and 12% would be 3 times a month, and 12% of almost weekly visits from the team, from the legal team. So, okay, yeah, you managed to wrap up even sooner, and that's great. And we have other partners here with us today, and our time is unfortunately limited. So, maybe Olena, Irina, and Serhi, if you could maybe in 3 minutes tell us a bit about your organization and how it resonates with what Link offers. Yes, greetings everyone. I am from a public body. We are a government-run body, basically, that was set up to help the beneficiaries cover their legal needs free of charge for them. But this would, of course, be covered by the local budget. So jurisdiction-wise, we work in Mykolaiv, Kherson, Kropyvnytsky, and Mykolaiv Oblast. And hopefully in the future, we will cover the Republic of Crimea. So we provide legal services, also help with raising legal awareness, mostly well, basically, the services are free of charge, and regardless of the level of income, status, or place of residence, any potential beneficiary can come to their local bureau, and on weekdays from 9 through 5 or 8 through 6, depending on their specific working hours, the beneficiaries can seek legal assistance. These days, we are dealing to different kinds of beneficiaries that fall into one group or another. We have Article 14 on free legal aid regulating access to free legal aid for the most vulnerable groups, including IDPs, GBV domestic violence survivors, and of course, children. So the law gives them access to free of charge secondary legal assistance, including court representation and legal defense. We work with public sector quite a bit, and some of NGOs have been really helpful with equipment and with other supplies, because one of our bureaus was affected, unfortunately, by the hostilities. And despite our awareness campaigns, we can see that people sometimes in some locations still are not aware that these services are available or might have their reservations, maybe some fears associated with reaching out. And just to reiterate, for the primary and the secondary legal aid, this is all covered from the budget. So we would be happy to help the beneficiaries and manage all those referrals, um, both in terms of consultations and other kinds of assistance. And if, for example, it is someone who comes to us for help and we explain that there are certain groups of beneficiaries that we can help, oftentimes we can find them, we can find a suitable category or suitable group for them and help this beneficiary get the assistance that they need. In terms of referrals, if, for example, there are certain limitations for the project, including the financial assistance, as I've said, we offer a number of services free of charge, but we are also open to new partnerships and we try to do our best to cut the red tape wherever possible. So, thank you. Greetings. I'm a lawyer. I work with Perspectiva NGO. And just as my colleagues here, we provide primary legal aid, meaning simple consultations, also secondary legal aid in terms of in writing, or for example, when it comes to applying to different authorities, fiscal authorities, and other bodies, and also psychological assistance, temporary shelter, uh, financial assistance, assistance with supplies and resources, depending on what's available from our sponsors. In terms of the network, we do travel, normally we do travel on site, but this we find to be an additional tool that we can leverage and a great opportunity for Mykolaiv Oblast, for Kherson Oblast, so that we can work remotely thanks to this tool. So thank you so much for it. Greetings, I'm Irina. I'm a lawyer on combating GBV from Right to Protection NGO. And we also provide different kinds of assistance psychologically, socially. Also, since I'm a lawyer, I mostly provide legal services, including primary and secondary legal aid, we help the beneficiaries with their court applications and just other issues as maybe relevant. It hasn't been long that we've been using the platform, just a few referrals to date, but we find it quite helpful actually, because I oftentimes have cases where the need is identified or the problem is identified, but I am somehow the fifth lawyer that they are seeing. So it would be great to use the tool more to coordinate this. Thank you so much. And friends, we still have 10 minutes for the Q&A. So if there are any questions, our link team and our partners would be happy to address them. So if there's any questions, go ahead. Yes. Olha, please. Well, I hope I'm not abusing the mic and your attention too much. Um, we are sincerely grateful to all our partners, our informants and verifiers, and our humanitarian babysitters, as we refer to them, who everyone who travels to our hermadas and helps the beneficiaries. And we've often heard this question, about how come this network that came up with such a great tool moved from the humanitarian to the legal issues at some point, and I believe my colleagues would support me on this one. You can never have too much legal assistance, and your regular Ramada residents might not even always be able to identify the need in legal assistance to say that, yes, I need a lawyer. And from day one, we knew that the requests for legal help would need to be interpreted. Uh, we would need to be able to identify those requests from others.
At the same time, we developed the structure of our platform link such for working with the legal requests and people who work in the sphere of access to legal aid. Thank you for mentioning that the exchange of information among the providers demands and basis that would include up-to-date legal materials and requests together with humanitarian needs could be covered together with the legal needs when we go to the communities. What's really important to me is that we can at the same time working with the legal requests, we can also identify the need for psychological support and unite it all on one platform. It's a big desire for us to make the link platform universal for the primary requests of people who live in the disparate communities and beyond them. We would be grateful to everybody who could come up and join and test our tools. What's important for us in 2025 is to improve them so that they would provide more opportunities to all people, no matter where they are from, to meet their needs. Any questions or comments, perhaps? Thank you. Thank you, Ola. We're going to have a short break soon. You'll be able to talk to our partners, to our colleagues, and ask all your questions, Tasha. If we could ask you to sum up the final year results of the year and the perspective of the legal component. Thank you so much for the question. Actually, we are planning to continue the initiative that we begin already, the collection and identification and verification of the needs. We're going to grow geographically, try to reach the communities that are hard to reach, and they usually need this assistance most of all. We'll do everything we can to cover them as well. As I said, we'll continue developing our online tools, in particular a chatbot, filling it out with new topics, include the consulting by our lawyers, collect information that is really needed, what our beneficiaries said about the collection informations, about the access to the legal administrative services. We will fill it up this database of information, and we also want to start coordinate more with protection cluster. We started this cooperation already, and we hope that it will add more positive results to our work. We will increase our capacities and work in synergy in order to ensure equal access to justice to all sorts of people. And overall, we consider that part of the work that is targeting the legal awareness, it has to be first and foremost, first or second priority, because people really need to understand that there is a problem and it can be solved, and there are people that will support them in this directly or through their partners. So My wish for all of us is more strengths, more synergy, more inspiration, more partnership and coordinations and peace, of course. Thank you.